And that's why Foreign Minister Lavrov, within the last 48 hours, was interviewed and asked what would happen if there were negotiations and whether or not Moscow was still receptive to negotiations. And he said, yes, we will be receptive to negotiations, but keep in mind two things. First of all, just because we negotiate, we will not stop fighting. We will continue until we have achieved all of our objectives militarily. And then secondly, and very importantly, we are not going to cease hostilities for even a brief period of time because we know that we are going to hold what we've won. Effectively, the facts on the ground have changed, and we are no longer willing to talk about trades in what kind of territory we're willing to surrender to you in order to have peace.
Right.
It's over. And we've made fools out of ourselves. And worst of all, we've made fools out of NATO. NATO looks weak and stupid. The Ukrainian state is ruined. Whatever emerges after this will be a rump state. And that rump state will effectively be a demilitarized zone, a DMZ. And in it will live Ukrainians that can tend to their fields and go about their lives, but there will be no military power that threatens Russia.
Welcome to today's in-depth analysis. The battlefields of Eastern Europe are not just scenes of physical confrontation, but are emblematic of the deeper struggle between two divergent geopolitical forces. On one side, we have Ukraine, heavily supported by NATO and the United States, pushing relentlessly despite the heavy toll on its forces and the diminishing returns on its offensives. On the other side, we witness Russia's unyielding defense, grounded in both strategic foresight and a commitment to secure its borders against what it perceives as Western encroachment. In this report, we'll unpack the complex dynamics at play, analyzing the latest maneuvers in the critical Kursk and Sumy regions. We'll dive into the guerrilla tactics employed in the gray zones, the reclamation of strategic territories by Russian forces, and the broader implications of these battles on the outcome of the conflict. As military expert Douglas MacGregor often highlights, the resilience and adaptability of Russian forces in the face of overwhelming odds are key factors that will shape the outcome of this conflict. Prepare for a detailed exploration, where every battle, every skirmish, is a piece of a much larger puzzle. As we move into the heart of the conflict, let's first explore the guerrilla tactics that have kept the region on edge and how these skirmishes are shaping the larger strategic picture. In the shadowy depths of the gray zones between Russian and Ukrainian forces, a different kind of warfare unfolds, one that is less about open confrontation and more about survival, attrition, and psychological warfare. The Ukrainian forces, recognizing their limitations in large-scale engagements, have adopted guerrilla tactics that capitalize on their ability to blend into civilian environments. These small, agile units operate in 2 to 4 man cells, infiltrating Russian-held areas by masquerading as civilians or even donning Russian uniforms. They take refuge in schools, hospitals, and civilian homes, creating a moral and tactical dilemma for Russian forces who must root out these insurgents without causing undue harm to the local population. This cat and mouse game is a dangerous one, with each side employing cunning and ruthlessness in equal measure. Russian forces, however, have begun to adapt, employing more sophisticated reconnaissance and intelligence gathering techniques to pinpoint these guerrilla cells. The process is slow and painstaking, as the region is vast and the insurgents, though small in number, are highly mobile and elusive. Yet the outcome of these skirmishes is not just about the immediate losses or gains, it is about who can sustain the pressure longer. Ukraine's reliance on these tactics may point to a broader desperation, a sign that their conventional forces are faltering under the relentless pressure of Russian military might. As Douglas MacGregor has observed, the persistence of such irregular tactics often indicates a weakening conventional force, one that is struggling to maintain its foothold in the face of a stronger adversary. On the other hand, Russia's determination to clear these zones, despite the risks, showcases their commitment to securing their rear lines and maintaining control over the contested territories. While these small-scale confrontations continue, the larger battle lines are shifting as well. Let's examine how Russia is reclaiming key territories amidst this ongoing shadow war. The strength of a military force is not only in its ability to advance, but also in its capacity to recover and reclaim lost ground. This principle has been vividly demonstrated by Russian forces in the Kursk and Sumy regions. Over the past weeks, Russian troops have systematically rolled back Ukrainian advances, retaking several villages that had briefly fallen under Ukrainian control. Each of these recaptured territories represents more than just a shift in the front lines. They are symbols of Russia's resilience and tactical superiority. Take, for instance, the village near Giri. a strategically located settlement that has seen its control switch hands multiple times. Just days ago, this village was under Ukrainian control, marked in blue on the tactical maps. Today, it is back in Russian hands, marked in the familiar orange, a testament to the effectiveness of Russian counterattacks. The reclamation of these areas is not just about regaining territory, it is a clear message to Ukrainian forces and their Western backers that Russian defenses are far from broken. Moreover, these victories underscore Russia's ability to adapt and respond to battlefield challenges, deploying reinforcements and adjusting tactics to counter Ukrainian moves. The strategic importance of these villages cannot be overstated. Located near critical supply routes and defensive lines, their recapture not only secures Russia's positions, but also disrupts Ukrainian plans to establish a foothold in these regions. As Douglas MacGregor has noted, the ability to reclaim and hold such key territories is crucial for Russia's broader strategy, ensuring that they remain on the front foot while forcing Ukraine into a reactive posture. The success of these operations is also indicative of the broader strategy employed by Russian forces, a methodical approach that prioritizes the stability and security of reclaimed areas over reckless advances. Yet, even as these territories are secured, the pressure from Ukraine remains relentless. Now, we turn our attention to the strategic assaults and counter-assaults near Kursk, where the stakes are higher than ever. Kursk, a name that has become synonymous with tenacity and resilience, is now at the heart of a fierce standoff between Russian and Ukrainian forces. For Ukraine, this town represents a crucial gateway to further advances in the region, a stepping stone toward deeper incursions into Russian-held territory. For Russia, Kursk is a bulwark, a critical point of defense that must be held at all costs to prevent the fragmentation of their defensive lines. Over the past days, Ukrainian forces have launched wave after wave of assaults on Kursk, employing a mix of conventional forces and irregular units in an attempt to breach Russian defenses. These attacks have been met with equally fierce resistance. Russian forces, well aware of the strategic importance of Kursk, have fortified the town extensively, turning it into a veritable fortress. The streets of Kursk have become a battleground with every building, every corner contested. Artillery barrages, close-quarters combat, and sniper duels have turned the town into a war zone, with neither side willing to cede an inch. Despite the intensity of these engagements, Russian forces have managed to hold the line, repelling Ukrainian attacks and inflicting significant casualties on the attackers. The resilience of the Russian defenders is a testament to their training, discipline, and the strategic foresight of their commanders. However, the situation remains fluid, with Ukrainian forces continuing to press their attacks in the hope of breaking through. Should they succeed, it would open a dangerous breach in Russian defenses, potentially allowing Ukrainian forces to link up with their units operating in the surrounding regions. But as of now, the Russian grip on Kursk remains firm, and the town stands as a symbol of Russia's unyielding resolve in the face of relentless Ukrainian aggression. As the battle rages on in Kursk, the situation in the surrounding regions also demands our attention, particularly as Ukraine targets vital infrastructure in a bid to weaken Russian defenses. In a conflict where every resource is precious and every supply line critical, Ukraine has turned to sabotage as a means of disrupting Russian operations. This strategy has seen Ukrainian forces targeting key infrastructure, particularly bridges and transport routes in the Glushkovo and Markovo regions. These attacks are not random acts of destruction, they are calculated moves designed to sever Russian supply lines, hinder troop movements, and create logistical bottlenecks. The destruction of bridges in particular poses a significant challenge for Russian forces, as it complicates the delivery of supplies and the movement of reinforcements. However, Russia's military command, anticipating such tactics, has put in place contingency plans. Engineering units have been deployed to the affected areas, working around the clock to repair damaged infrastructure and establish alternative routes. The speed and efficiency with which these repairs are carried out underscore the professionalism and preparedness of Russian forces. While the destruction of these bridges creates temporary disruptions, it has not succeeded in halting Russian operations. In fact, these acts of sabotage may have inadvertently galvanized Russian efforts, with troops and engineers working in unison to overcome the challenges posed by the attacks. The resilience shown in the face of these disruptions is indicative of Russia's broader strategic posture, adaptable, resourceful, and unyielding. Despite the damage caused by these attacks, Russian forces have continued their operations in the region, undeterred and increasingly determined to secure their objectives. The situation remains tense, with the potential for further sabotage attempts as Ukrainian forces seek to exploit any perceived weaknesses in Russian logistics. However, the response from Russian forces thus far suggests that these efforts, while disruptive, are unlikely to achieve their intended strategic effect. Instead, they highlight the growing desperation of Ukrainian forces who, faced with mounting losses and a faltering offensive, are resorting to increasingly drastic measures in a bid to turn the tide of the conflict. While infrastructure attacks pose challenges, the larger strategic picture continues to evolve, especially in the contested regions near Relsk, where the next phase of the conflict is unfolding. Relsk, a city with both strategic and symbolic significance, now finds itself at the center of the next potential flashpoint in this ongoing conflict. Located near the border and surrounded by critical infrastructure, Relsk is a linchpin in the defense of the wider region. Ukrainian forces, recognizing the city's importance, have been methodically working to encircle it, launching probing attacks from multiple directions. Their objective is clear: to isolate Relsk, sever its connections to the rest of the Russian defensive network, and force a withdrawal or capitulation. However, Russian forces are well aware of these intentions and have been reinforcing the city in anticipation of a prolonged siege. The defense of Relsk is not just about holding a city, it is about maintaining the integrity of the entire defensive line in the Kursk region. Should Relsk fall, it would create a domino effect, compromising Russian positions further north and east. The stakes could not be higher. On the ground, Russian forces have been fortifying their positions, building new defensive structures, and stockpiling supplies in preparation for what could be a protracted battle. The city's defenders are a mix of regular army units, local militias, and special forces, all working together to ensure that Relsk does not fall into Ukrainian hands. The battle for Relsk is likely to be one of attrition, with both sides pouring resources and manpower into the fight. For Ukraine, the capture of Relsk would be a significant propaganda victory, a demonstration of their ability to strike deep into Russian-held territory. For Russia, holding the city is a matter of both strategic necessity and national pride. As Douglas MacGregor has often pointed out, the defense of key urban centers like Relsk is not just about territory, it is about maintaining the broader strategic coherence of the defensive network. The outcome of this battle will have far-reaching implications, not just for the immediate area, but for the entire course of the conflict. As the situation in Relsk develops, all eyes will be on this city, where the next decisive chapter of the conflict may well be written. The talk has gone on long enough. Let's meet again in the next episode. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned.